In the spring of 2016, a group of eminent scholars visited Edinburgh. Their ideas are not commonly heard in Scotland, yet they were developed here during the Scots Enlightenment. The scholars discussed ideas with a group of young people who inherit an entitlement to their country's past wealth and its prospects for the future. The young panel are actors. The opinions expressed are not their own, but taken from contemporary Scotland's conversation. They express them as common sentiments, heard in public debate in order to create a response. The scholars should be seen as objectivists, seeking to describe the logical outcomes from political and economic decisions. The interests and incentives of those who make those decisions are to the fore, in line with modern economic thinking.
Is it just going to happen?
We want access to our own taxes. We want to decide where the money's going, what new stuff we want to try on subjects like social, educational and health.
I think that's a fine thing. The only problem is that we don't quite know what we want, and we don't know what we're spending on when it goes through the government. I mean, I'll speak about my own country. We have enormous subsidies to cotton farmers, and the cotton farmers are not poor sharecroppers. They're 1,000-acre cotton farms in the South. They're not farming the land, they're farming the government, and that's what I'm paying for in taxes. If the money that we spend in taxes was going to the poor in a way that inspirited them and helped them over their troubles, I, as a Christian libertarian, would be delighted. It's much better to bring down the government to the local level. So when we're deciding to build a new school in our community or invest in roads, we're paying for it, and there it is, and we can see it.
Who is we?
Yeah, who
we is each one of us as individuals. And yes, I want control over my taxes.
Yeah.
You should want control over your taxes.
Yeah.
And the way to get control over your taxes is to shrink government and to reduce taxes dramatically so you have your tax money back. It shouldn't have been taken away from you to begin with. So what you want is to limit government, reduce government, shrink government, to create opportunities for each one of us to spend the money that is ours. It's not theirs.
As a UK citizen, I'm proud of the free NHS. And also as a Scottish citizen, I'm proud of the free university tuition fees. Why are certain people trying to privatise NHS, and why are people trying to reinstate uni tuition fees?
Well, I think we need to be very, very careful with the word free.
Yeah.
In economics and life, economics shows us that there really is no such thing as a free lunch. No matter who is paying for health services, no matter who is paying for education, someone, somewhere is paying in terms of giving up resources that they otherwise would have had. There's a distinction in economics between what we call the seen and the unseen effects of public policy. The seen effects are obvious. The public sector provides health care, and of course people like receiving health care. So it's regarded as a good public policy. The unseen is the resources that were directed away from productive lines and markets towards public sector lines, and the foregone wealth that is no longer created because of that misallocation of resources. We're not for getting rid of healthcare, we're not for getting rid of education. That would be absurd. We're for getting the most productive healthcare and the most productive education that we can get. Theory and history are both clear on this. The best way to get those is to allow individuals to trade with each other.
But, and on the matter of higher education, all over Europe it's free. But that's a subsidy to the upper middle class, because their children are the ones who are the best prepared for higher education. The average working man's kids don't think of higher education as their future. So what's happening is a very large transfer from the ordinary payer of taxes in Scotland to the children of doctors and lawyers. And it's, speaking of unfair, it's unfair.
Incidentally, how much choice do you have in your education today? Even choose any university you want, there might be a few dozen courses there. Go online, see how many courses are there.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
You have much more choice with online courses.
Speaking of free.
And they really are free to you. Somebody else is creating them and making a profit through a business model whereby you get to enjoy them for free. And you have much more choice, and you can choose from the best professors and courses from around the world. And all of this can be delivered in a much more scalable fashion, much more economically than a university education. So as you think about your education, anticipate that it'll be perhaps a mix that's uniquely tailored to you, that will combine online education, maybe some residential education, and some work experience, all intertwined and all continuing for the rest of your life.
And think about healthcare, because healthcare is important, particularly maybe when you're young. Who cares, right? Because you're healthy and young and fit and everything. But as you age, healthcare becomes more and more important. And the fact is that socialized medicine is a disastrous system. It's a disaster for those of us who use the healthcare system. But it's a disaster for the doctors who thought they were going into an exciting, productive career and have been turned into bureaucrats who follow formulas provided by a centralized government, and that over time is going to destroy healthcare even more because of the socialized system in which you live. It is a disaster because it is basically enslaving nurses and doctors and hospital administrators and making them into just workers of the government instead of actually productive individuals who are creating or using their minds to actually solve problems, which is what would happen if you freed up healthcare. Imagine if doctors could actually innovate and could actually propose new things, and it can actually would actually take responsibilities over the treatments they give their patients instead of following formulas provided to them by some bureaucrat.
When it comes to taxes, I think we're torn. I think in some ways we want them to stay the same, and I think in some ways we want them to be different. But do you think it's true that we want to compete with others and to succeed?
I think you do. I think you do, and I think you should. But first, I think it's important that we don't mistakenly deify the concept of a job. When we talk about jobs, we don't just want jobs in general, we want the right jobs. We want jobs that are capable of actually producing wealth, goods and services that people want at prices that they can afford. If we just wanted to maximize jobs, ban tools, that would require labor to do everything. We would have millions of jobs and we would all be Stone Age poor. That's obviously not the way you want to go. So if you want to be competitive and have good jobs, I think the way to go is to actually apply the principle of competition to local political jurisdictions themselves. Have local political jurisdictions compete for citizens, compete for tax dollars. I think we need to get beyond this idea of democracy as just showing up for a plebiscite and voting. Democracy, properly conceived, is laboratories of self-governance.